that was one. The other thing that was significant is he said that the dog bite marks, of which they didn't find any DNA from the dogs. It was unclear to me whether or not they swabbed O'Keefe on his physical body for DNA from animals, or if they just were looking at his clothes. I just have not seen every second of the trial. I've heard both ways. MG says the injuries to his face and head were from a fight and hitting the back of the head. Yeah, I think there was like a superficial laceration on his eyelid that was telling. But again, you're not going to get a minor superficial laceration from being ran over. You're going to get your face caved in and other stuff. So one of my theories, here's what I think. If I'm putting this together, here's what I think happened. I think he was inside the house. I think that him and Higgins had some kind of a beef. The beef was over Karen Reed. Women or the I don't know, always seem to be the culprit behind these kinds of things. Not always, but in this case, maybe. I don't think that Higgins intended to kill anybody. I think this was accidental. He hit his head on something and then was out cold. And but even that is a stretch, because it's like, okay, did he die instantly? Did anybody know? Would that be the move, or are we calling 911? It just doesn't make sense. But it's more plausible to me that happened versus Karen Reed ran him over, because the injuries just don't fit the prosecution's narrative. Could it have been the case that he was sideswiped?
Yes, I was going to ask that.
Yeah, Karen Reed was really pissed off. And then in the course of being really pissed off, backed up at 25 miles per hour, maybe didn't hit him. And then he took his glass and threw it at the taillight, because there was definitely damage to the taillight that was done. It was definitely cracked, but it wasn't shattered is the problem. And there was video of her backing out of her driveway to go back to the scene where O'Keefe was found that shows that she literally like damaged the taillight in the course of traveling there, which means further damage. Is that definitive evidence that the taillight was not involved? No, because I mean, it was cracked. But then they were using leaf blowers and stuff to like go over this leaf blowers, Ileana. Like think of you're trying to find, you know, these archaeological remnants of something, and they take the a little brush or whatever. Oh no. There was a blizzard involved. They're using effing leaf blowers and Safeway bags and red plastic cups to collect evidence. When has that ever happened in a criminal case that you could remember? Even if you subscribe to the idea that you have the prosecution has proven that Reed ran him over with the car, which I don't think it's the case at all. You cannot prove, they haven't done anything to prove first degree premeditated murder. So I think first degree is off the table. If you want to say second degree, fine. She was pissed off. She was definitely pissed off. You heard those phone calls, but I don't even think that you get the requisite mens rea for second degree. Given that it seemed like she was shouting at him as if he was still alive, given that she had placed 53 phone calls between the time she left and the time she went back to the scene, text message and such. And then there's this odd statement that the prosecution, that the Commonwealth keeps harping on. I hit him. But then there's varying versions of it. It's not definitive that she said, I hit him. There's other versions that say, did I hit him? Or maybe she said, I hit him, but like in a questioning, I hit him, you know, like that. I think that, how do you figure out like which is which? I think that you got to look at the way that the investigation was handled on the night of the incident. Nobody treated this as a homicide. In what criminal cases have you ever been involved in where you have a confession at the scene that wasn't immediately locked down as a homicide? That doesn't make any sense. They looked at it as an accident from the beginning, and part of that may have been corroborated by her questioning whether or not she hit him. So there's all kinds of there's all kinds of problems with this. You don't have to look hard for reasonable doubt. Yes. So I'm of the opinion, a couple of days ago, this is what I said. I think that it's 10-2 in favor of full-on acquittal. Okay. And the reason I think that is because there isn't been any evidence put on that definitively proves that he was hit by a car. And the most reliable medical evidence suggests that the evidence are not consistent with being hit by a car, but it's consistent with him getting attacked by an animal and being in a fight and hitting the back of his head really hard to lose consciousness. Did he? And think about it. They got rid of the dog. I think it was Higgins who his phone was ordered to be turned over to the cops on the 30th. And then on the 29th, he changes phone carriers and deletes a SIM card and cuts it up and disposes of it at a military base.
Of course.
Because at military bases, they're not probably looking for, or going to go through the garbage looking for evidence. And why would a cop be doing that? He said, oh, because somebody had contacted me about a collateral investigation. And so I was doing my best or whatever, which still, that's not, you don't cut up SIM cards. Cops don't do that.
No.
What's your immediate opinion when somebody starts cutting up SIM cards?
They are hiding evidence.
They're hiding something.
Yeah.
And which hasn't been proven because they're not the ones on trial. The defense doesn't have to prove anything. But it is, if you're looking for reasonable doubt, man, that's another area of low-hanging fruit for the jury to rely upon.
The time is around 12:30 a.m., and Karen Reed sits in her car approximately 60 feet past the home where John O'Keefe's body was found. This is based on the prosecutor's opening statements that Karen Reed's vehicle traveled 60 feet in reverse at 24 miles an hour when hitting John O'Keefe. Karen leaves and drives back to O'Keefe's house, where she goes to bed for the night. Supporters of Karen Reed question these events. One thing is, it's reported his cell phone was found under his body instead of being thrown in a different direction.
Look at that.
Reed's vehicle traveled 60 feet in reverse at 24 miles an hour when hitting John O'Keefe. Karen leaves and drives back to O'Keefe's house, where she goes to bed for the night. Supporters of Karen Reed question these events. One thing is, it's reported his cell phone was found under his body instead of being thrown in a different direction. Other things that don't make sense is how someone being so far down the road would stop, back up quickly with the intent of hitting someone, and then that person would just stand there and not get out of the way.
Unless he couldn't move because he was black.
For me, one of the biggest questions is how it is possible that no one witnessed this. This wasn't some quiet night and everybody was in bed. There were nearly a dozen people in the home having a party. That's why Karen and John were there in the first place. Jennifer McCabe testified that she could see Karen Reed's car out front the door and that she was texting O'Keefe to park behind her car. Viewing this from another direction, you can see how Brian Higgins' Jeep is parked right in front of the mailbox. And as we move in and view this from the driveway, it seems unlikely that 12 people would leave the house and not have been able to see a body in the front yard. Also, this was a night that it was snowing, and I wonder how Karen was able to accelerate so quickly without just spinning tires and warning O'Keefe of the impending danger. Thank you for watching.
I don't remember how the accident reconstruction evidence came out about how she was able to accelerate in icy conditions like that in a blizzard in the span of 60 feet, which is really not that long. I don't know if you're a baseball fan, Eliana. That's literally the distance between the pitching mound and home plate. It's not very far at all. But I have, when I was living in the Midwest and I had to drive in the snow, I'm not accelerating with any effectiveness well, I guess 25 is not that fast. I guess maybe it's possible. I don't know. I just don't remember how the what the video or the car data was on that. But if you look at the just the layout of the scene, to be fair, I think it's plausible that people in the house are not going to notice that on a dark night in the snow, blizzard conditions. I would miss that. I just would. When I look outside the window, I don't normally look at the grass. So if there's anything laying in there, if it's not obvious, and look, if this is off kilter to the window right there, I'm not looking this way. But McCabe said she was looking outside. She saw the SUV over here in, I guess, the general direction of where he would have been, and she didn't see him.
Yes.
So, so there's that. And then she did another one. Let's take a look